How's everyone doing tonight? I don't like these. I would feel like you're talking behind the thing. Can everyone hear me without this? I'd feel, no? Go figure. Anyway, so just a little bit about myself and our company. My name's Horowitz. I started in 2012. Did my first rental. Me and my partner are actually firemen full-time for the city of Baltimore. I always feel like you're talking behind. Anyway, and we got started buying rentals just because our retirement plan was being taken from us. You know, the economic downturn, you know, what we went to the city fire department for, you know, work hours and pay and benefits, all that was being taken from us. So we started buying rental properties, and as we bought rental properties, it's grown. We've gotten pretty proficient at construction. I'm going to go over a few tips that we have that we found beneficial for us. So first thing is that we always look at ourselves as that we're a construction company first. I know a lot of people want to look at it, you know, the glitz, the glamour, you're a real estate flipper, or you own rental properties, or whatever it is. But for us, our primary business is that we're a construction company first. So we look at everything from a construction aspect, especially since we're doing a lot of rental properties. With the rental properties, we're always trying to absolve issues and do the construction right the first time. And we even found when we're flipping properties, you know, you put together a nice, well put together product and you sell something in confidence, you don't have to worry about someone coming behind you, suing you, coming after you. You don't want that coming after you. So for us, we always try to do everything right the first time. So I just was thinking about what I wanted to say up here. So I kind of went over the 5 W's, you know, who, what, where, why, when, and how. And everyone says, you know, who should I find? Who's the right contractor? You know, where do we find them? For us, so there's 2 different ways you can go, right? You can go with a reputable GC, you can go that route, or you can go with individual contractors and manage your own project. For us, what works for us is each individual trade, we have an individual specific person that does it. So all our mechanicals are done by licensed contractors. They all can pull permits. That's another thing that you should always be looking out for, is to make sure you can get the proper permits, make sure that you have all that in your hand. So an HVAC guy does our HVAC, a plumber does the plumbing, electric, all the way through and through. And then when we get to the sheetrock, we have a sheetrock contractor, then we have a framer, and we go all the way through with that. So each individual person has their own trade. We find that if they're in their own niche, they're a lot more proficient. They can get it done a lot faster. They can usually get it done cheaper. You know, electrician and plumber, if they're all under one house, you got to ask yourself, you know, you really want an electrician dealing with electricity in your water, it's probably not a good idea, you know. So that's what works for us. So we've done that. I've also seen people go the general contractor route. Just remember, you know, if you're in the business of whether it's flipping properties or doing rental properties, at the end of the day, it's about making money, right? So if you're paying that other person, the general contractor, they're probably charging you a 15% project management fee or whatever it may be. They have their own overhead and profit, and they're subbing everybody out. If you're working full time, that might be the route to go, knowing that you can go with somebody and manage your whole project. For us, that doesn't work. And the other thing you gotta remember with a general contractor is they're probably doing jobs for other people, whereas we have our own individual contractors, and we can usually keep them busy enough that they're I wanna say they're almost dedicated to us, that we know when we call for something, they're jumping. And they're usually on one of our job sites, moving to another job site. That's what works for us. The other thing is, if you're going to go, we'll call them the individual contractor route. I have street guys written down because that's what I started with, going down to Lombard Street and picking guys up, or going to Home Depot. it kind of made me reflect. If you got to pick somebody up and take them to work, what does that tell you about them, right? You're going to get what you pay for. There's a time and there's a place, and we've all started, and it comes down to hustle and busting your butt. But we noticed if you got to pick somebody up, take them to work, are they really that motivated versus someone that's got a van and wants to go out to the job site and go bust their butt and make their money and get the job done? You know, you want someone that's got the same common goals as you and has the same interest in making money, getting to the next job, and moving forward. The other thing, when we hire contractors, we always ask them for at least a W-9. If someone's, we also ask for a certificate of insurance, but if someone's not willing to give you a W-9, it kind of tells you, hey, they're pushing back on you, but this is your business, right? You're paying the contractor. So for us, that's kind of like the first step. Hey man, you willing to fill out a W-9? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Well, if they're not willing to fill it out, they're kind of already pushing back. So when it comes down to the end of the job, hey man, can you fix this for me? I'm willing to pay you. They're probably gonna say, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? They're kind of setting you up. You can already tell the person from day one.
Ian, can I ask a question?
Sure.
As Ian's talking, if you have any questions, feel free to kind of dive in and ask. We like to keep these things as interactive as possible. So you talked a little bit about finding contract, going down the Lombard Street and stuff like that. What other good places have you found contractors? And after you find them, what do you try to do to keep them on board and move them from project to project?
And that was the next place I was going. We found people, everybody from going to Home Depot, walking around shopping for stuff. I just found a post-construction cleanup company, and people might not value that. We were doing a house across the street, and the dude said, hey man, can I clean your house? And I said, who are you? Handed me a business card, so we fill out a W-9 and certificate of insurance. Turns out he owns a franchise, and the dude's our new post-construction cleanup person. So anywhere from being in the streets, friends and family, anyone that's in the construction business today, ask all your guys. When we started, we would take people that would do side work. We didn't really care. But for us to keep them on board, so Home Depot, friends and family, other house flippers is a good one. Just don't ask us, because I hate referring people straight up. Because the one thing you got to remember when you ask for a referral is you're that point of contact, right? And my guys are the guys that work with us. Will do X, Y, and Z for me, and I refer him to Jason, and Jason gives him a deposit, and he says, well, screw that guy. I don't know that guy. You know what I mean? And doesn't have that same loyalty. So I don't prefer to refer people. I would love to. I'd love for my guys to make 10 times as much as money. I just hate getting in the referral business. But other house flippers, and there's plenty of people here that are currently doing work that probably knows somebody. And even your own contractors. One of our carpenters currently, we found him through our own contractor, through one of our other carpenters, said, hey, we're too busy. Do you have anybody else that you'd like to refer? Hey, my buddy just got into town. He's looking for work. He's got a van. He's got tools. Next thing you know, he's one of our primary contractors with the other guy. So people do have the other contacts. For us to keep everybody on board, we do have enough work to keep everyone together, but that's also a situation. I think Sean Magner and Mark Owens spoke about it a few months ago. They kind of share a network of contractors, so the guys stay busy and they know they got constant work. The one thing you got to remember is a lot of these guys, especially the individual contractors that you're probably getting the right prices from, how do I say this? They think they're running a business, or they want to run a business, but yet we pay them on Fridays because they need the weekly pay, right? So as long as they got that feeling of they're a part of a team and they know they got work every week, and especially that they're going to get paid more or less in net 5 and not net 30 or net 90 or some crazy pay terms, they know they're getting paid on Friday. They're probably going to be loyal and dedicated to you and willing to help you out to get to the same common end goal. Another thing that always comes up is, you know, when should you be looking for contractors? For us, we are always looking, just like ABCs, always be closing, always be looking for a contractor. You never know who you're going to run into. You never know when someone's going to disappear on you. You never know when someone else is going to get another job that pays better and they want to move on. We're always building our network of contractors. You know, it's a hard thing, right? Some days everyone wants to work together, and then other days people get fed up, and it's just easy to go out and find more work.
One other question. Let's go back to the permits.
Yeah.
Pulling permits. So half the group here is DC area, half the group is Baltimore area. I know you're Baltimore area, so just speak for that. What's your thought process of what you pull permits on, what you don't pull permits on? When do you feel, you know, you cut corners? Yeah, you know, do you feel like it's important to pull permits on everything, including, you know,
considering considering we're on tape, we always pull permits. There's never a time we don't. Honestly though, so Baltimore City, Baltimore County is primarily where we work. Baltimore, and they're two completely different sets of rules. Baltimore City, you literally got to pull a permit for everything. Don't try it. You're going to get caught. Some neighbor's going to call on you. You're going to have an issue. And honestly, we do literally pull permits on everything because we're tired of getting caught. Because you know what happens when you get caught? It costs you $500 to $1,000 bucks. I think it might even be $1,500 in the city. It shuts you down for 24 hours. The guys can't work there. It's just a big pain in the butt. So we just go pull the permits. Baltimore County is different. You can literally do everything with the exception of move a wall and not have to pull a permit. So you get into a weird situation. But when we do pull permits, we make, actually if you go to Baltimore County, they'll give you a list of what you do and do not need permits for.
Hey, question, Ian. So there may be some, you're primarily a rental guy, but there's flippers in the room. So the other important aspect of the permits is if you're flipping the house, there's going to be a home inspector probably coming in. Do you want to shed some light? I know some people think they're cutting corners, but when that home inspector goes and pulls and sees, wow, new electric, and there's not the proper permitting, that opens up a whole other can of worms.
Right. We've been down the road where we've done a flip and everything was already done before we got there and only had to do a touch-up. And there was still an issue with the mechanicals that says be done by a licensed contractor and or prove the permits were pulled to install this HVAC unit or whatever it may be. In the end, it's just worth pulling the permits. It's going to come up. It's going to bite you somewhere along the line. You know, I mean, it could even go as far as you have a fire in the house and then it could be 10 years later and they want to look up and see what happened. You know what I mean? The insurance company's not going to pay it because it wasn't done by a licensed contractor. It could happen. But for us, even when we do flips, everything's done because we know in the home inspection report, they're eventually going to ask for a copy of the permits.
Do you have a good resource of where you can go to determine if someone previously pulled permits?
For the city, it's very simple. You just jump on baltimorehousing.org/permits. And you can look up any property in Baltimore City from 2007 on and see if they pulled permits. So if a wholesaler says, oh yeah, the mechanicals are done, come check it out. Remember, when you buy that house, you're responsible for what was already done prior to you. So if everything's in place and permits weren't pulled, guess what? You got to pull permits for all the work that's been done. You know, so you can see if it was done properly or if the permits have been pulled or whatever it may be. Baltimore County, I don't think you can do that. The only way you can look up Baltimore County is with a permit number. To go back one step on the topic of permits, for us, what works is our mechanical guys pull all the permits. When I say mechanicals, for anyone that doesn't know, we're talking about HVAC, plumbing, and electric. As a building owner, you can pull your own general building permit. So for us, we always pull the building permit since we're the building owner, and we deal with our guys that might not have an MHIC license, but we're willing to take the responsibility and stand behind our work, and we're able to pass the building permits. So I forget where the heck I was going on that topic, but
Well, what made me think about that topic is we did a loan for a borrower, and the previous owner had put a really large addition on there, and he thought that everything was good, and he went and finished renovating the house, and when he went to go sell the house, the addition was not properly permitted, and
Right, and I'm sure he had
ran into issues, and I mean, we were the lender on it, but him as the owner of the property cost him a ton of extra money and time.
Yeah, Jimmy, do you know if, yeah, I got you. Can you look up permits, or can you call the county permit office and they'll tell you if permits have been pulled prior in Baltimore County? Like if someone put an addition on, are you able to call them? Do you know?
If someone what?
Like put an addition on and you want to make sure it was permitted?
Yeah, you can call them and get the address.
Yeah.
You can just call them permit number, and then it gives you like a automated recording. You hit 0, you get a permit, actually a permit employee, and then you can say, hey, I want to check out this property and see if a permit was pulled on it. You give them the property address and they can pull history on it.
Is that the same in Anne Arundel County too?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer.
I want to back you up a step on between the general contractor and pulling you guys separately. You just mentioned W-9 and certificate of insurance. You get those two things, you're happy. You're not asking for any referrals or anything else. I mean,
no, usually
these guys are.
Yeah, so for us, usually we're able to vet guys pretty quickly, judging by who they are. Sometimes if we get a referral, that's always the best, right? Because you have someone to rely on. But if we meet somebody on the street, like I think Nancy asked me earlier about a tile guy, that's a great job to try somebody out on. Like if I run into somebody, say, hey, yeah, I do carpentry. All right, man, why don't you come over here and frame this wall up for me? And we piecemeal the job initially. We won't give somebody a whole job day one unless you're truly a referral and we can truly vet you on day one. Like the guy that was referred by my other contractor, he started doing roofs for us. Well, if you can put together a roof, we're already going in the right direction, right? If it's not leaking. A great job always is tile, flooring installation, something cheap, something inexpensive, shall I say, that if it's screwed up, you can rip out and start over, right? And that's usually a good gauge for somebody. Another good gauge is if, hey, can you just frame this house out, and you go in and walk it and it looks pretty well together. Usually if someone can frame a house out, they've done everything right. They should be able to finish the house, but that's not always true, or vice versa. But seeing how the person works and their cleanliness and those types of things is usually how we start. And we, like I said, initially we'll piecemeal a job together, and then once we get comfort with you, we'll give you the whole job, and you give us a price for the job from finish to end.
And when you guys get general contractor, obviously it's their job to kind of keep everybody working together. But if you're doing these guys separately, how do you manage the communication between the HVAC guy, the electrical guys? They start pointing fingers at each other, saying, no, this guy needs to do this first. Nah, I don't want to do that. Let's let this guy get done. How do you manage that communication, especially for the first time and the general newbies in here?
Right. Well, luckily now the guy in the blue shirt, Ryan Tucker, deals with all of our problems. He's our project manager. We've been able to grow to that level, but initially when we started, it was just knowing the process. So for those of you that haven't done construction, a pretty general idea is you do your demolition, you secure the outside of your property, being windows, doors, and roof so it doesn't leak. Then we would go to our framing guy, then our HVAC, plumbing, and electric in that order, sheetrock, and then everything falls in place after that. So our communication, we've tried everything. We've tried spreadsheets, we've tried Podio, we've tried building management software. I think Jason uses Sage. I mean, honestly, it's just a fluid process that you should get comfortable with. And honestly, as much as people say, oh, I can just not go to my job site for a week, even before we had Ryan, we would literally go to our job sites every day. If we were at work for 24 hours, first thing we did the next morning was our first task every day was to go visit our jobs. Being there every day, questions come up, excuse me, guys don't have to guess what you want, right? You told them put the bathroom here, but it's 6 inches off, you didn't realize something. You're there every day and you can answer a question, you know what I mean? You're familiar with what's going on.
What's the difference between a general contractor and the gentleman that's a project manager then?
Just for us, that's someone that's in-house. There really is.
In-house general contractor.
More or less, he's running our crews. The one thing you gotta remember, luckily we're at a point now that we can take on that overhead versus, you know, when we first started out, I mean, we would literally, I'd probably loop the Beltway 2-3 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, I would go around from I'd hit some jobs in the morning, a problem would arise, hey man, I'll hit you on the way home. You know what I mean? The one thing you gotta remember with a general contractor though is they're in the business of making money off of construction, right? So they're out there every day. I mean, unless you're lucky, most likely they have other jobs going on. You're not the primary source versus our guys that we were dealing with. Hey man, we got enough work, stick with us. We'll get you, you know, once you've done this job, you're going to this job, and have that comfort of knowing the next job, you know? So a lot of people in this business, I mean, maybe there are success stories just from what I mean, Jason probably knows better because he runs into a lot of people. A lot of people that deal with general contractors just don't, I guess it's not our preferred business model. I might not be the best person to talk on it, so.
It's all individual.
Yeah.
On that. And the Sage, that construction software?
That's what we use.
Okay. And
Instead of like QuickBooks, you know, we could set up construction budgets, manage timelines, integrates straight with accounting. So instead of QuickBooks, we use it.
Is that something a newbie, somebody just getting into it?
I mean, it's a little pricey, so it just depends on.
Okay.
It's a little bit more construction friendly than regular QuickBooks or QuickBooks Online.
I can share, I guess if people want to leave me their information, I'll share you the original spreadsheet that worked for us. Basically, it was a spreadsheet. I had my acquisition price, closing costs, carrying costs, projections all on the right-hand side. On the left-hand side, I had actuals. Then I had a running total of every receipt I spent on before we used QuickBooks. I paid X, Y, and Z contracting X. I spent $32 at Home Depot, and it was just a big, long running total. So then at the end of the job, here's my totals. This is what I sold it for. This was my cost. Here it is. I mean, it's pretty simple to do in Excel, but I can give you a very loose format that worked for us for probably our first 30 or 40 projects.
Okay, so that would be handy for a newbie that goes in there and does something like that, and then they can show that to their next investor. This is how close I was on the first one.
Right.
So give me a break, you know, I got a feel for what I'm doing. How about give me a little bit of break on the second project? Yeah,
and that's a nice thing. We started using QuickBooks to manage. So the other thing you gotta remember with contractors is they always forget how much you paid them, right? Hey, the job was 15 grand. You get to the end and they've mismanaged their money, even though you've tried to manage the project all the way through with them because you know they need $1,000 a week to get through and you don't want to get them burned at the end. They'll still say at the end of the job, oh, I only made this. Hey man, you agreed to $15,000. This is the scope of work we agreed on. This is the price we agreed on. And this is what I paid you. Here's every check number I wrote you. You know what I mean? For us, QuickBooks is a very easy way to tell that. It takes some time to learn, but honestly, spreadsheets was the way we did it on day one. I think if you dig around, there's some people that have like a evaluator construction tool for like $299. You can get their Excel spreadsheets. Honestly, you could just do it yourself and amend it the way that you want to do it.
Okay, and for a lot of the people out there that are providing money, they're doing it on draws. And you mentioned about, you know, the 5-day pay period. How did you maybe manage that, or how could they manage that on the front end to keep their contractors happy?
For us, we always made sure we had startup money. We knew it would cost money to start. Luckily, every lender I've worked with, it's been on a per draw schedule that you pay the fee. You know what I mean? Whether it's a bank, it's Jason, whoever it may be, you're paying the fee. It wasn't a very regimented, you got 3 draws, that's it. You know what I mean? If that's how it is, you need to budget your money accordingly or set your draw schedules up accordingly. Jason, close your ears, front load your draw schedule, right? Okay. So demo cost you 3 grand, I'd always put 5 grand. Framing cost me 2 grand, I'd put 5 grand. I would front load it, so then I got money all the way through. I've never done that to you ever. But I would front load my budgets. Yeah, I mean, they know, but Scott's here too, don't listen. But we would front load our budgets, so then we had some working capital, so it wasn't all on us, you know? I'm not saying don't not be honest. Look, if you put down $25,000 for demo, they're probably not going to approve the draw schedule. You know what I mean? So,
I appreciate it.
Yep. She was in the back.
Can you talk about like estimates? So for someone who's relatively new and can't like eyeball a project and kind of identify like how much it's supposed to cost, is there like an approach or a resource that you use aside from just having a bunch of contractors kind of bid on it? Is there something that you refer to?
So the question was, what's the best way to estimate what it costs to get a job done? We've found, and I know everyone's going to quote me and then say I was completely wrong, but on a gut renovation, we're spending about $50 a square foot, roughly. Just at a quick glance, boom, there's our number. If you're not doing a mechanical update, you can back that off by about $10 to $15 a square foot. And I'm not the right person to comment. Jimmy, what do you spend? About $100 a foot on new construction, you think?
Yeah.
About $100 a foot on brand new construction. So that's what works for us. If you go do a Canton rehab flip, you might spend a few more dollars than $50 a foot. $50 a foot is just kind of our wheelhouse that gets us through, gives us a rough number, and then after doing enough jobs, you got a pretty good idea of what you're going to spend on each job. Or hey, I've done a house similar to this. I thought it was going to cost me $50. It actually cost me $65. I'm going to budget $65. I'm going to buy based on $65,000 renovation.
So how about like those one-offs though? Like for example, I have a project and I need some siding done. I just don't really know what to do that.
Yeah, I mean, certain parts of it I know, like siding. I don't know like a per square foot, but like paint, I know a per.
Reluctant to try to get a contractor in there.
Well, I just don't want to get several, but I also don't want to get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something like that, I mean, a lot of the times I think investors don't think they have time with the seller to go in, you know, to just bring in a bunch of different contractors for this and this and this. I certainly understand that. I mean, if you're putting a property under contract, I would, and especially if you're newer and you haven't done one before, I would try to get that thing pushed out as long as possible for a closing date and do whatever you got to do just to learn from it, to get as many contractors in there as possible, just to see what it comes back at. Just use it as a learning experience. And then until you get used to it, until you know exactly what some of that stuff costs.
Yeah, you'll see a common theme in the prices. I mean, you could probably go on Google and take a guess, but stuff out west costs different than stuff out east. Kind of get a gauge.
It's different. DC area and Baltimore area is different. It's hard to pinpoint the exact number. I mean, stuff that we flipped in higher end areas of DC, it's very different than some other areas.
So, do you have non-occupancy built into your budget since you have 50 properties? Do you have somebody full-time looking to keep those filled?
Oh, on the rental aspect? Yeah, we have a full team of people that we have always searching. Every Monday they get a list of what our vacant units are. Real quick side rental note, if you're looking to budget your vacancy, once you hit about 10 properties, factor 10% vacancy rate. That's just a solid number, up and down depending on the condition of your properties, how long you've owned them, and all that kind of good stuff. But that's kind of where we're at.
And since you've started, how many properties have you unloaded just because you didn't think it was a good fit?
Out of the rental portfolio, 3 of them. That's it, and I'm glad I got rid of them. So.
Yeah, on our rental stuff, going back to that. Most of his team, which is similar to ours, is just outsourced leasing people. I mean, we have in-house, we have probably enough staff that we could do that in-house, but we still pay a leasing agent just to deal with it, to be honest with you. It's just one less thing that we have to deal with, and for the, 1 month's rent, it's well worth it. Because these leasing agents can do a better job than we can do it internally.
I was just going to add, like I said, as a wholesaler, when I walk into a house, I look at I always go good, bad, or ugly. So that's how I gauge everything that I'm looking at. So if it's good, no more than $10 per square foot. If it's bad, 15. If it's really ugly, then it's like 25 to 35 per square foot. And I've been doing it for like over 2 years now, and it's been working wonders for me. So I go good, bad, or ugly.
Well, if you're going in for a wholesale budget, we always just figure ugly. And nothing's ever good, I promise you. But everything's always bad. Just a few other points. The one thing you guys got to remember with contractors, whether it's a general contractor, it's your own guys, contractors are goldfish. They can literally do everything. They will eat everything. Just go, 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 go. Hey man, can you do this? Yeah. Hey man, can you do this? Yeah. When honestly they can't. Sometimes you got to put the brakes on and say, dude, can you really do that? Let's just try one window, or let's try one roof. I don't trust you. You know what I mean? Like, you got to build that rapport back and forth with your contractors. Go ahead.
You talk about what you do for design, or do you have like design plans? Could you talk about anything in reference to?
Yeah, so having plans is the best thing to work off of. When we first started, we were out there with the old spray paint rattle can and tape measures and nailed down 2x4s. This is where my bathroom's going, and everything would go wrong, and we didn't account for this, didn't account for that. Luckily now we have a lady who we met through a reference here. She's a licensed architect, or she works for a licensed architect, but she'll do plans for $300 to $400. You won't get full mechanical plans, but you will get a layout drawing, and a layout drawing usually is enough for what we do, unless you're building a house. So for us, we have the layout plans. It's easy for Ryan to work off of, and it's easy for everyone to work off. There's no question, hey, this was supposed to go here. And look, it's just like the engineer always can come up with it, but then when it gets to the field, it doesn't work. There's still some amendments that get done, but layout plans are always good, especially with your building inspector. He walks in, hey, here's this. All right, I got it. Boom, there's no questions asked to what's going on. And if you make your inspectors happy, your life's a lot better. Ryan can tell you a story. I tried fighting an inspector, and we still pay for it now. It's not worth picking a fight with an inspector. Keep them happy. Another thing we like to do, and I think Shane's going to speak afterwards, is we utilize our suppliers a lot for deliveries. And a lot of people don't put much thought into this, but utilizing our suppliers for deliveries, and especially if it's your first flip or it's you've got a full-time job, is two things. One, your supplier, you call him up and say, I need 10,000 square feet of flooring, and he says, what kind of house you doing? Well, I'm doing a 2-bedroom house. He's probably gonna say, hey man, you're completely wrong. You want me to come out and measure it for you? So for us, like, our flooring contractor comes out and measures everything, so we don't have a ton of waste, and we're not moving materials from job to job to job. Our electrician's notorious for just buying new materials and never using the old stuff, right? Versus if we can manage what he's buying, we save costs, as well as it costs money to move materials from every job. Another thing is to actually get the materials delivered, like roofing supplies. Get the materials delivered directly to the roof. It's one less thing your guys got to do, right? They don't have to walk it up and down, kill themselves. I hate you, you're not paying me enough. We didn't account to carry this stuff upstairs. This is not fair, you know what I mean? You don't have to deal with that. Number two, they don't have to run out to Home Depot. I don't mind that they're going to Home Depot to buy stuff, but I also don't like that they're going there 6 times a day, and or going there once, let's say, they go to the job in the morning at 7, then they're there till about 10, 10:30. They get their material list together, they leave at 11, they go to Home Depot. That's a 20-minute drive. Then they got 20 minutes or 30 minutes shopping, assuming they don't run into anybody they know. Then after that, they got to go up front and wait to pay. Then they, after they pay, they got to load their truck. And then after they load their truck, I got to get gas. And then after I get gas, I definitely got to get lunch. Like, can't miss out on lunch, right? And then they get to the job site, unload it, and say, oh my God, it's beer 30, time to leave, right? So your production's gone down. So for us, utilizing delivery is huge for us. Shane will be able to comment a little bit better. Home Depot, they got a lot of good services. They can get you out the door and get them fast. And even a lot of, if you ask pretty much any supplier, most of them probably offer some sort of delivery service in a very timely manner, because just like contractors, we think the same way. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, I need the material there Friday. Most of the guys can get you turned around quick enough because they're in the service industry. The Dean's got a question, I think.
What do you guys do for designs, like for between your rentals or flips? Are you staying with the same finishes for everything? Are you changing it
Yeah, the only thing that changes between our flips and our rentals is everything's literally the same, with the exception of the type of cabinet I'm putting in, the type of flooring I put in, and the type of tile I put in. Everything else is the same. There's no difference. I'm building the houses the same. I want to know that we're standing behind a good product, that someone's moving into the house, whether they're buying it or they're renting it, they know that when they turn the light switch on, every breaker is not going to blow out, and we can rest easy at night and go to sleep. I mean, on our way here, we had a plumbing issue that me and Ryan stopped at to go check out. Turns out it's a major city issue, and they're actually jetting the lines now as we speak. But at least we know that, hey, we did the plumbing right on day one. It can't be on our side. So we've eliminated one of the problems.
Do you finish your basements and your rentals?
Depends. If it's already finished and framed out, we'll finish it. There's like $150 to $250 rate, rental rate that you'll get an increase. Sometimes it's just not worth it. And basements, a lot of times you'll finish the basements out and you won't rent it out as that extra bedroom, so it doesn't really work and it's not worth the cost to us. So recently we've just been spraying them dark gray, and that's it. It's clean, washer, dryer, mechanicals, dark gray. It's an unfinished basement. This way, if it gets wet for whatever reason, hey man, you knew it was an unfinished basement, it got wet, not my problem. I don't want to say not my problem, I don't want to sound like a bad guy, but hey, you knew it was unfinished. It was not meant to be used for anything but storage, so.
Okay, another question for you. So, a common question that probably everyone somewhat wants to ask related to figuring out how much something costs, like, a full construction budget. Let's say I go and I put a property under contract, and I'm a newer investor, and I have 5 or 7 days to close. And I'm nervous because I don't exactly know what my construction costs are. I know, well, first off, you don't know your construction costs. It's hard to really put a property under contract, but let's just say you do put a property under contract because you think you got it at a good price. What's the best way to really feel comfortable that you know what your construction costs are? Let's say you have a property that somebody in this room brings you tonight and they say, I'm a wholesaler, I'm going to sell this property, and you're like, that's a really good price. What are you going to do in the next 48 hours to determine the construction costs?
For us, we're going to run right out there. We're going to go take a look, get eyes on it. Pictures are lies. If you're buying stuff just from an email, go out and walk it, especially if it's your first 10 to 15 deals. The pictures never do it justice, ever. Number 2, to get comfortable with it, is I'd get out there and get 3 prices right away, 4 prices, whatever it takes. I'd utilize any resource you have to get a price on it, and if you're not comfortable, I would think losing your $1,000 deposit's better than being $30,000 in the hole because you didn't know your construction number. So walk away.
Do you like the idea of getting on the phone with 2, 3, 4 contractors at the same time and trying to get them to meet you, every one of them at the same time in the property? Number 1, they feel like they have competition. Number 2, over each other. Number 2, it may be an owner-occupied property, and the person may not want you to march a bunch of people through there.
If it's owner-occupied, I would give them like hey, I need this house for 4 hours. I need to bring all my contractors through. They all do a different trade. Don't tell them what's going on. Personally, I'm terrible at, so I'm all over the place. So if I had 5 contractors, like here, people are asking 5 different people want to ask a question at the same time. I don't know who to look at first, right? So it doesn't work well for me, but if you can manage 4 or 5 people and have that competition feel, by all means, go for it. But I would meet specifically with each individual contractor, give them a solid 30 minutes to walk the property, and you should be able to tell. They should be asking the right questions. Hey, what do we plan on doing with the bathroom? What do we plan on doing with the kitchen? Like key indicators that you should already know. And if someone's bringing something to your attention and it doesn't seem right, it's probably not right. If someone's bringing something to your attention and you're like, oh my God, that's a good idea, you obviously got someone that's looking out for you and potentially cares. And that's what you want. You want someone that's going to have the same pride of ownership in the job that you are. You know what I mean? In the end, even though ABC Contracting did your job, guess what? ABC House Flipping owns that house, and that's your name, that's your livelihood on the line. So you gotta remember, the people that you hire are a representation of you, because in the end, the finished product is a representation of you. And that actually brings me back, if you're gonna go all the way out and like hire somebody and say, hey, you gotta take like a disc personality, you probably don't want someone that's like an eye that's all over the place. It's probably a bad idea for a contractor. If you want more information about disc, I'm sure Jason can tell you all about it, and there's probably YouTube videos all about it.
What percentage of products or projects that you do go over budget and go over the timeline?
Every single one.
And on average, how much are they?
I don't know, because I always feel bad for Ryan, because he's based on commission and getting them done on time. But I mean, look, it's just like a budget, right? Your timeline's set. However, it's a living, breathing thing, right? Like a budget, your house budget or whatever it may be at work, it's a living, breathing thing. We overrun, it happens. A lot of the time the overruns are not because of negligence, it's because we want to do the right thing, get it done. We're finishing up a flip in Halethorpe that when we opened the back wall, the whole back of the house was falling off. A 2,000 square foot house, we could only salvage 1,000 feet of it, had to pour a new foundation, had to rebuild the whole back of the house. We were set back 40 grand day one. You know what I mean? And that's something we didn't account for. You know, it happens. The biggest thing with a timeline is set yourself a general idea. Hey, I want to be done on June 1st. It might come, it might go. You can't account for permits, weather, especially in the wintertime. You definitely can't account for weather. But at the end of the job, you got to give yourself a hammer date. I want this house done on this date. Set a goal for your guys. This is it. Here it is. Especially when you get down to like punch out work. That's usually when we set our deadline and get it done. To go back to budget's always a great thing to have. It gives you a guideline of where you started. And if you are using a spreadsheet, hey, I wanted to spend X, and I wound up spending Y. And well, what happened? Why did it go wrong? Well, I didn't account for the plumbing not being completely right, and or I was completely negligent and this guy bailed on me, and there's nothing I could, well, in the end, it's your responsibility. There's always something you can do about it, but at least you can give yourself a contingency next time, or whatever it may be. The more data you produce, the more proficient you'll get going forward, and the more confident you'll be getting in your numbers. We arrived to $50 a foot after doing 15 or 20 jobs. Hey man, how many square feet was it? How much did we spend? Boom, we were always between 40 and 60 bucks. So $50 is our wheelhouse. That's just what we know. We might be a little bit higher than others, but again, for us, it's about getting the job done in a timely manner. We might pay a few more dollars to get it done, to get it turned over quicker. Time is money, especially when you're paying God knows what interest rate from my friend over here. You want to get them done, right? Because everyone forgets about carrying costs. That's a major thing you guys got to remember. So when you get a contractor, and there's a difference potentially with a general contractor and guys that work individually for you, a general contractor, my timeline's 6 months, whereas you get your guys in, fluid process, boom, 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 you're done the whole project in 12 weeks. You just saved 2 months of interest. That's huge. That's 2 more months on the market, whatever it may be. Another thing that we like to do with our guys, and even especially now that we have Ryan, is we still go out to the job sites. Like when it's time for punch out, we'll jump out to the job site. We'll be there cleaning next to them. We'll be there putting the refrigerator. We'll be there, whatever it may be to help out to get the job done. We're there with the guys. And sometimes it's maybe it's the industry we come from. It's all about what, your work ethic and what you're doing. You know what I mean? So if you're out there proving yourself to your guys that, hey, if you don't want to do it, I'll just do it. Guess what? They know that they might be out of a job tomorrow. Most likely, I'm not going out there to do their work. I'll find somebody else. However, if they have that feeling of, I'm going to get this job done, and I'm going to get it done without you, they're going to bust just as hard and get it done. Are you guys making fun of me over here?
No. I mean, there's, from experience from doing a lot of loans and a lot of properties, there's 3 things that really, really make a project go sideways that you gotta have under control. Obviously, you gotta buy the property at the right price. Most important thing. And the construction side of things, think about this. Let's say you budget $40,000 and you spend $50,000. That's the same thing as paying $10,000 too much for that property. If someone offered you the exact same property for $10,000 more, you probably would have said no. So instead, you mismanaged it, and like you said, you go over on construction, you go over on your timeline. It doesn't matter if it's your money, it doesn't matter if it's private lender, hard money lender, bank. At the same time, it's a cost. Any of these flips less than $80,000. What's your average timeline for something under $80,000?
What, for renovation?
Yeah, for a flip from start to finish. Let's say the permit you're not in the county where the permit process is a long time.
I mean, end to end, we always try to figure 6 months. We get them done usually pretty quick, usually quicker than that, but we just set like if it goes more than 6 months, we really screwed up. I know a lot of newbies, it's usually a 9-month process from buying it to fixing it to being on the market. Another thing you gotta remember is you might be able to get a house done in 90 days or 45 days. There's lending laws if you're selling a property. You can't even sell the property to somebody until you've owned it for 90 days. So that's something you gotta factor in. So if you're going to look at a lick and stick or like a makeup job, go in there and just repaint the place, you're still gonna have to hold that property for 90 days if they're going out to get an FHA loan, right? You can't sell it that next day. So that's something you gotta account for too. We've been in a situation where we were able to get houses done in less than 90 days and sold. We had to file a contract, kill the contract, give them a new contract on the 91st day, and then sell it afterwards. And then nowadays, I mean, Scott, you probably comment better, but I'd say 45 to 60 days to get a loan done anymore with all the new lending laws and all the new, I don't know, everything. It just takes a while to get deals across the line. And just like they have a timeline, everybody files for an extension. I don't think underwriters and loan officers open the file till the day before the closing and say, oh yeah, by the way, you need an extension because they got you, because who are you gonna find in that 2 weeks that they need the extension to get the deal done? So.
Let's do 2 more questions, then we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna introduce Shane, and then we'll do more questions. Go ahead.
How many projects do you have going on at once between your flips and your rentals?
For us, we usually hover somewhere between 9 and 12. It's just what works for us.
So what's your team kind of look like? Do you have a project manager? Do you have a crew itself?
Good question.
Okay, so I'd say by the time you run through all of our guys and everybody that works for everybody, we're right around 30 to 40 guys. So we have a project manager who's in-house with us. For us, we have one demo contractor who's also our landscaper and his crew of guys. He's also our waterproofer. He's able to do those 3 things. So he does his demolition, shoots downstairs, does the waterproofing, and off we go. Then from there, we go to our HVAC guy. Our mechanicals, we have 1 person each, 1 company each. We don't need much more than that. One thing I remember with mechanical guys, they're probably going to go out and find enough work. You usually don't have enough work for them. A good mechanical contract, like a good HVAC contractor, 3 to 4 days in your house, anywhere 2 to 4 days, let's call it. Your plumbing contractor, ours is a individual guy, so it takes them about a week. Some guys can get in and out in 3 days. And our electrician's an individual guy. Some guys get in and out in 3 days. Our guys takes about a week, but the plumbing and the electric can work side by side. Please, if you're not familiar with construction, do your demo, and then do your framing, and then do your HVAC. Always let your HVAC contractor go first. As you guys can see, the ductwork's huge. That's got to go first. It's pretty inanimate. It can't really move. Then your plumbing contractor, because pipes, your main sewer pipes can't really move, but your little pipes, your water pipes usually can. And then your electrician, all the big stuff's in. He knows where he can loop his wires in and out and do whatever he wants. Then from there, we have 2 crews of guys. We'll call them carpenters or contractors. They're the ones that do the framing, sheetrock, windows, roofs, doors, floors, tile, you name it. They each got about 4 guys each that work for them. And then we have some other like oddball contractors that come in and out, insulation contractors who's a third-party sub. And there's a few other contractors that I'm missing. So.
You want to answer that last question, and then we're going to take a break?
Yeah. What is the typical makeup or agreement? I know you have your project manager, but for your GC, how do you typically kind of frame or what does the agreement typically look like? How are they paid out?
So she was asking, what does it typically look for an agreement? I'm assuming you mean a scope of work or a contract between you and your contractor. For us, we've gotten away from it, although recently we've decided that we're going to get back to it. we provide a scope of work that we want done, right? We're paying for it. This is what we're gonna do. This is how it's gonna be done. This is what we expect. Luckily, our guys know what we want in the way of the finished material. However, they don't always know what we want. We go in and say, open that wall up. We know that it needs insulation behind it. However, they might not expect that in their price. So there's been a little miscommunication recently. We've decided to go back to actually producing a scope of work and saying, this is what I expect of you. If you're a newbie, I'd probably receive a scope of work from the contractor and kind of get a gauge for it. I mean, you should have a pretty good idea of what's going on and what's not going on. I guess it's hard for me to say. But if someone's framing something and doing all this different stuff and they're doing sheetrock and everything, but there's no paint price in there, you probably have an issue. You want to reduce the amount of extras. You know, you don't want extras. They always cost you money. I used to have a painter, we called him Extra, because he never wanted to paint the baseboard or the exterior, everything that he did on every job before. He'd always give us a price and say, no, no, extra, 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 extra. Well, no, time out, dude. This is what we expect. Here it is. It's written down on paper, the end. I'm not so much looking for it to go to a court of law and this guy screwed me over and whatever. I just like to know that the scope of work and we have set expectations that we're both working off of, that we both agree upon, that we both expect out of each other. Because in the end, that's what it comes down to.
Cool. Okay, we're gonna bring up Shane in a second. We're gonna take like a 5 or 10 minute break. Let me just ask the question. Does anyone have a pro account manager at Home Depot? Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's actually what Shane is, who's gonna be coming up in a second to talk. Because I'm willing to bet that a lot of you either purchase your materials or even use some of the labor subs that Home Depot has. You probably just don't realize that they offer a heck of a lot more than most people realize. So Ian actually uses Shane on a regular basis for a lot of his stuff. But you know, I didn't even realize how much Home Depot, you know, some of these things that Home Depot has to offer. So when Ian talked to me about this a few weeks ago, I was like, hey, we need to bring my guy Shane in. He can probably help a lot of investors here of how, you know, what a pro account manager does, what they offer. It's kind of an incredible resource for that. So again, as you guys all know, we don't sell or pitch or have any of that, so that's not what this is about. It's just a solid resource and kind of explain, you know, having Home Depot on your side, and I think they have rebate stuff.
Yeah, Shane will explain more, but there's definitely rebates, and we actually just switched to them to start using them for cabinet. There's another contractor I forgot, but we have we don't put in our cabinets. We rely on somebody else to do it this way. If they screw up and break it, it's on them. But yeah, we just switched to cabinets for them, and they have a lot of good resources and delivery. And I'm telling you, when your guys go to Home Depot, it is a 3-hour trip, guaranteed. I don't care if it's just for one box of nails. It's never in and out, ever. So he's definitely a good resource to have.